Good day, everyone. My name is Lovely Ardela Vega, and today we are going to discuss the Chinese civilization, Chinese beliefs and philosophy, and its literature. So ngayon, pag-uusapan naman natin ang Chinese civilization at ang kanilang language. Ang Chinese civilization ay isa sa pinaka-sinaunang civilization sa mundo. Isa rin ito sa iilang civilization na may sarili nilang unique writing system. Meaning, hindi sila bastang humihiram lang ng paraan ng pagsusulat. May sarili silang style. And next, pagdating naman sa Chinese language, sobrang dami nilang characters. May more than 20,000 characters sa kabuuan overall. Pero syempre, hindi naman lahat kailangan nilang kabisaduhin. Ang isang average ng Chinese person natututo lang ng around 5,000 characters para makapagsalita sila. Hindi nila kailangan na malaman or matutunan yung 20,000 characters. So, pag 5,000 characters lang, isapat na yon para makipag-communicate sila. So, makikita natin na kahit complicated ang kanilang language, nagagawa pa rin nila itong gamitin sa everyday life. So ngayon naman, pag-uusapan natin ang flag ng China. Ang flag ng China ay officially adopted noong October 1, 1949. Ito rin yung araw na naitatag ang People's Republic of China. Mapapansin natin na red ang kulay ng kanilang flag. Ang red ay nagsisimbolo sa Communist Revolution at isa rin itong traditional na kulay ng mga Chinese people. Sa flag, may makikita tayong isang malaking gold star. Ito ay nagre-represent ng communism, na isang system kung saan ang government ang may control o pagmamay-ari ng mga resources para sa lahat ng tao. Mayroon din itong maliliit na stars. Ang mga ito ay nagsisimbolo sa iba't ibang social classes ng mga tao na nagkakaisa sa ilalim ng isang pamahalaan. Ang flag ng China ay may malalim na kahulugan tungkol sa kanilang history, government at unity. The capital city of China is Beijing. Ito ang political and cultural center ng bansa. Dito nakikita ang maraming important landmarks at historical places. China is known for its rich history, unique culture at may mabilis na development, economy at technology. The Great Wall of China ay isa sa pinakasikat na landmark sa buong mundo. Ito ay isang sa mahabang pader na itinayo noon para protektahan ang China laban sa mga mananakop. Hindi lang siya isang tuloy-tuloy na wall, kundi binubuo ito ng iba't ibang sections na ginawa ng iba't ibang dynasties. Ang wall ay umabot ng libu-libong miles at dumadaan sa mga bundok, disyerto at damuhan. Ginawa ito gamit ang bato, bricks at lupa depende sa lugar. Ginagamit din ito noon para sa communication tulad ng paggamit ng smoke signals at apoy mula sa mga watchtowers, I mean. So ngayon, ang Great Wall ay simbolo ng lakas, kasaysayan at kultura ng China at dinadarayo ito ng mga maraming turista. Kaya ang Great Wall of China is very famous landmark sa China. So alam naman natin na ang China is very big country, kaya iba't iba rin ang beliefs ng mga tao doon. So first, we have Islam. May more than 22 million Muslims sa China. Sila yung mga naniniwala kay Allah at sumusunod sa teaching ng Islam. So hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas ang may mga Muslims, kundi meron din sa China. So next is Catholicism. May around 4 million Catholics katulad dito sa Pilipinas. Naniniwala sila kay God at sumusunod sa teachings ng Catholic Church. So, then we have Protestants. Mas marami sila kaysa sa Catholics with over 10 million people. Pareho silang Christians pero may difference lang ang practices and beliefs. And lastly, meron din tayong tinatawag na atheists. Sila naman yung mga hindi naniniwala sa God or any religious. So makikita natin na ang China is very diverse pagdating sa religion. May iba't ibang paniniwala at respect lang ang importante sa kanila. Yun lang at maraming salamat. Thank you for listening to me.
So, good day everyone. My name is Ridolin M. Montes and this is the continuation of Lovely R. de la Vega's report. So, Confucianism, an ethical teaching founded by Confucius. Confucius is a Chinese teacher, editor, politician, and philosopher of the Spring-Autumn period of Chinese history. So, ang Confucianism ay isang uri ng ethical teaching o sistema ng mga aral kung paano maging mabuting tao at mamuhay ng maayos ayon sa ating society. Hindi ito nakafocus sa pagsamba tulad ng mga ibang religion, kundi mas nakafocus ito sa tamang ugali, respect, and self-discipline. And ang nagtatag nito ay si Confucius. Siya ay isang Chinese teacher, editor, politician at philosopher noong Spring-Autumn period sa history ng China. Gusto niyang turuan ng mga tao kung paano magkaroon ng magandang relationship sa family at community. Ayon kay Confucius, mahalaga ang respect, lalo na sa parents at elders, and responsibilities sa family at sa society, and good behavior o tamang asal, or education para maging mabuting tao. And next is the opposite of Confucianism is Taoism, and the most important religion that encompasses a variety of tradition and beliefs and spiritual practices, largely passed on teaching attribute to Buddha. So, ang Confucianism at Taoism, sinasabi na ang Taoism ang kabaliktaran ng Confucianism. Kung ang Confucianism ay nakatuon sa rules, order at tamang asal sa lipunan, ang Taoism naman ay mas nakafocus sa pagiging simple, natural at pagsunod sa agos ng buhay. So, next is Buddhism. Ang Buddhism ay isang mahalagang religion na binubuo ng iba't ibang tradition, paniniwala at spiritual practices. Ito ay nakabase sa mga turo ni Buddha. So, si Confucius ay pinanganak noong September 28, 551 BC at ang original name niya ay Kong Shu. Namatay siya noong 479 BC. Siya ang founder ng Confucianism, isang philosophy na nakafocus sa tamang asal at moral values at magandang pamamahala. Ang mga idea ni Confucius ay na-influence ng mga sinaunang text tulad ng I Ching at Book of Rites. Dahil dito, mas na-develop niya ang kanyang teaching tungkol sa tradition at social behavior. And philosophy niya ay nakafocus sa personal morality, pagiging mabuting tao, and government morality, maayos na pamumuno, and tamang social relationship, respect sa pamilya at tipunan, and justice at sincerity. Naniniwala rin si Confucius na ang pamilya ang pinaka-foundation sa isang maayos na government. Kung maayos ang pamilya, magiging maayos din ang lipunan. Noong panahon ng Hundred School of Thought, marami ang philosophy ang nag-compete at isa dito ang Confucianism. Pero noong Qin Dynasty, na-suppress or nahigitan ito dahil mas pinili ng pamahalaan ang legalism. Isa sa pinakasikat na turo ni Confucius ay ang Golden Rule, do not unto others what you don't want others to do unto you. Ibig sabihin, huwag mong gawin sa iba ang ayaw mong gawin sa iyo. So, next is culture and tradition of Chinese and wedding. Red is the color of wedding in China because they believe it signifies love, joy, and prosperity. To seclusion. Seclusion means away from other people. The wedding day is carefully chosen to astrological signs. Meaning, sa Chinese weddings, napaka-importante ng kulay red. So, bakit nga ba red? Dahil para sa kanila, ang red ay sumisimbolize ng love, joy, and prosperity. Ibig sabihin, gusto nila ang pagsasama ng couple ay puno ng kaligayahan at pagmamahalan at magandang kapalaran. Next is seclusion. Ibig sabihin, ang couple ay inilalayo muna sa ibang tao para magkaroon ng private time ang bagong kasal. Basta pinipili ang wedding day sa Chinese culture. Very important kasi ang astrology, pinipili nila ang exact date ng kasal based sa astrological signs ng couple para masigurado na magiging swerte at harmonious ang kanilang pagsasama. So, ang Chinese New Year ay isa sa pinaka-importanting event sa China because sineselebrate nila sa unang araw ng lunar calendar. Ibig sabihin, hindi ito fixed na date tulad ng January 1 sa ating Gregorian calendar. Kadalasan nagaganap ito sa Chinese New Year sa pagitan ng late January hanggang early February. Iba-iba ang exact date nito bawat taon dahil nakabase ito sa galaw ng buwan. Sa panahong ito, maraming tradisyon ang ginagawa tulad ng family gatherings, ang pagbibigay ng red envelopes o ang angpaw at pagpapaputok upang itaboy ang malas at salubungin ang swerte. That's all, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my report talks about Chinese classical literature from 1600 to 1900. Refers to the earliest period and covers works from 3,000 years ago to the late Qing dynasty and virtually unbroken strand enduring dynasty changes written in ancient form of language that is very different from present-day Chinese. It needs to be carefully studied to be understand. No, ito nga pala yung first kumbaga isa sa earliest period ng classical literature nila o yung written nila na from 3,000 years ago nag-umpisa sa late Qing dynasty na hindi pa siya unbroken siya pero hindi masyado. Pero yung na to, literature na to is mahirap siyang intindihin kasi nga ancient siya. Kailangan mo siyang pag-aralan ng mabuti para maintindihan mo siya. No? Kumbaga merong mga scholar na nag-aaral nito para maintindihan to. Yung mga nakasulat dito. Next is Chinese modern literature. Refers to the period from the Opium War in 1840 to the May Fourth Movement in 1990. Opium War. This is the war between two wars in the mid of 19th century, involving Anglo-Chinese dispute over the British. All people observed the impact of Western thought as foreigners poured China and established their colonies. Novels, poetry, and other works began to appear with the theme of patriotism and revelation of social literature. No, dito, Chinese modern literature, merong war dati na yung literature ng Chinese is dito nagsimula dahil sa war na to na yung Chinese literature is begin to advance, no, dahil sa war na parang na-impluwensyahan sila ng mga British, no, dahil sa Britain na sa war nila sa Britain parang na-impluwensyahan sila ng British, yung pag-iisip ng British is na-adapt ng Chinese kaya doon nagsimulang mag-advance yung kanilang literature. Kaya nga siya natawag na Chinese modern literature. Start in 1840 to 1990. Number 3 is contemporary literature 1990 to 1949. Span period from 1919 to the foundation of modern in 1949 and took a new vigor despite the Chinese was checkered and complicated times. No, kumbaga dito is yung kumbaga dito nagsimula yung pag-advance lalo ng Chinese literature into modern times, no. Ito na yung mga kumbaga yung pagsisimula nung kumbaga na yung literature ng China ngayon, ng Chinese ngayong panahon na to. Pero even though na mahirap yung panahon dati, merong mga gulo or pagkakagulo, hindi ito napigilan na mag-advance yung literature ng China. Number 4, present age. Ito na yung present age. Present age literature 1949 to present to until now. Evolved since the establishment of the People's Republic in 1949. During this time, there was log jam as a consequence of cultural resolution that lasted for near 10 years. That era is now long past and we have now a favorable turn events and great number of responsible written works. Kumbaga dito yung pag-advance ng Chinese literature na even though may log jam daw, kumbaga ito yung parang naban yung yung Chinese literature na kumbaga pagka nagsulat ka ng Chinese literature, kumbaga yung pagsusulat is naban siya kumbaga, yung logjam na yun is naglast ng 10 years. Pero dahil dun sa 10 years na yun, dun masyadong nag-improve yung mga tao na maging modern palalo yung Chinese literature dahil sa 10 years na nangyari na yan. Next is dynasty in China. Shang Dynasty, 1700 to 1050 before Christ era. Development of Chinese writing. First dynasty, hieroglyphics writing on bronze wares and oracle bowls. It evolved into ideographic and partly phonetic Chinese character. I don't have any idea for this, but the discussion will continue to Mark Agustin. Thank you.
So, good morning classmates, good morning sir. My name is Mark Agustin and my topic is all about dynasty in China. So, the second dynasty in China is called Zhou Dynasty, 1045 to 225 BC, basic philosophical and religious literature. The Zhou Dynasty is one of the oldest dynasty, and the major literary achievements originated in the late spring of autumn period, Warring State period. So this is the time when the people in China began thinking deeply about how to live, govern, and behave. The third dynasty in China is the Qin Dynasty, 221 to 206 BC, literary disaster and legalism. So the first is Muism. Muism is the big philosophical and the religious school. Lai Si is is the Qin emperor who introduced a writing system and developed into modern Chinese writing. The third is legalism. So the legalism is philosophical school. So this dynasty is believed in strong government and strict law. The fourth dynasty in China is the Han Dynasty. So the Han Dynasty is 206 to 220 BC. Scientific and the historical texts. Era's major contribution were the historical texts and the scientific work. The first is Sima Xian. The Sima Xian is wrote historical record. Historical records is the major history concerning the overall history of China from the Shang Dynasty to Han Dynasty. Second is the Kailun. Kailun is one of the person in the world to create writing paper. So this was a time of learning, innovation, and recording history. The next is the Tang Dynasty. The Tang Dynasty is 618 to 907 BC, early woodblock printing and poetry. The first is Du Fu in Lai Bai. The Du Fu in Lai Bai, China's greatest poet. This is one of called. The next is Li Bai. The Li Bai, one of the greatest romantic poet. And the last is the Du Fu. Du Fu is one of the greatest realistic poet. So this dynasty, the Tang Dynasty, was a time of great art, poet, and cultural growth in China. And that's all. Thank you.
So, good afternoon everyone. This is my report. Song Dynasty 1960 to 1279. Early wood block printing, travel literature, poetry, scientific texts, and the Neo-Confucian classic. So, sa Song Dynasty, a period in China known for advance in science, technology, and literature, printing became more common. Woodblock printing. an early printing method where text images are carved on wood, ink, and pressed onto paper. Travel literature, writing about journeys, places, and experience. Poetry, literary work that express feeling or ideas using rhythm and imagery. Scientific text, book that explain science, discoveries, and invention. And the last, the New Confucian Classic. Important writings based on Confucian philosophy updated during the Song period. So, 5 classics and 4 books written in the classical language. Shinku and Susong. Both work scientific treatises. So, Shin discovered the concept of true north and magnetic declination. So si Shunko, scientist who explained true north and magnetic declination, difference between magnetic north and real north. So Susong, famous for his hydraulic powered astronomical clock tower. So si Susong is an inventor known for creating a water-powered astronomical clock tower. So, 1 Dynasty 1279 to 1368. Drama and great fictional novels. So, 1 Dynasty period ruled by the Mongols known for drama and storytelling. So, drama plays perform on stage with actors, dialogue, and music. Then sa fiction novels, long stories that are imagined but may include real event or characters. Then Guan Hanqing, one of the best playwrights of the times. So si Guan Hanqing, also known famous playwright, one of the best drama writers of the time. Midsummer Snow, one of the most popular drama pieces. So, Midsummer Snow, a well-known drama play about injustice and tragedy. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Water Margin, two of the 4 greatest novels in Chinese literature. So, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a famous novel about war, heroes, and strategy in ancient China. Water Margin, a novel about outlaws and rebellion. And The Romance of the Western Chamber by Wang Shipo, one of the best romantic dramas ever written in China. So, The Romance of the Western Chamber is a romantic drama about love and relationship. So, Ming Dynasty 1368 to 1644 novels. So, Ming Dynasty, a period known for strong government and popular novels is long fictional stories with characters and detailed plots. Journey to the West by Wu Qingyin, based on the historical journey of a Buddhist to India. So, Journey to the West is a famous novel by Wu Qingyin. It tells the story of the Buddhist monk traveling to India to get sacred texts. The last one is Qing Dynasty 1644 to 1911. Novels and pre-modern literature. Mangkos established the last dynasty. So Mangkos, they were the one of established the last dynasty in China. The Dream of the Red Chamber, the last of the China's 4 great classic novels. So the Dream of the Red Chamber is the last of the 4 great classic novels of China. It is about life, love, and the downfall of the wealthy clan.
Good morning, sir. or good afternoon, sir. There is this is my part of our report about Lantern Festival and Dragon Boat Festival. So the Lantern Festival, they are celebrating it on the 15th day of the first lunar calendar. Ipinagdiriwang ito ng Chinese dahil, ito daw ang pagtatapos ng bagong taon nila. And also, pagsalubong na rin sa full moon. Dahil ang full moon sa kanila ay nagsisimbolo ng pagkakaisa, kabuuan at pagsasama ng pamilya. So that's why sineselebrate nila ang Lantern Festival sa kanilang lugar. And also pasasalamat at paghingi ng biyaya. And the next is the Dragon Boat Festival. The Dragon Boat Festival, they are celebrating in fifth lunar month. So, hindi lang basta-basta sineselebrate ang Dragon Boat Festival because the Dragon Boat Festival, meron siyang kwento na kung saan ah, pinapaalala sa Dragon Boat Festival ang mga ginawa ni Koyan before na tawag diyan, isakripisyo niya ang kanyang buhay sa ilog na yan, 'no? That's why si Koyan ang naalala if ipinagdiriwang ang Dragon Boat Festival. And also the Dragon Boat Festival, ito rin yung pagsasamba at pagsasalamat nila. And pag-iwas sa sakit at sa masamang spirito. And the next is the education in China. Education of China, education in China has always been highly valued, and the great master Confucius thought that it is a pleasure to learn something and try it out interval. So, naman, when it comes to education in China, the students is very highly valued, no? And also similarly, numerous students have been convinced that reading book excels all others' career. So, ganyan talaga ang education in the China. So the next is the Chinese. They has seven dialect, and these are the Mandarin dialect, Cantonese dialect, Hakka, Wu, Min, Shan, and Gan. That is the seven dialect of Chinese. So the next is Chinese literature. So Chinese literature is one of the most major literacy with an interrupted history in more than 30,000 years dating back at least to the 14th century. No? And also they have four classes of literature. The first is classical literature. Second is modern literature. The third is contemporary literature. The fourth is present age literature. So, the dialect and the classes of literature, i-discuss later on ng aking kasama. So, for today's, dito lang nagtatapos ang aking part as a reporter. So, to conclude this reporting, I hope every one of you had something to learn about my topic or discussion for today's discussion. That's all. Thank you.